Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day, good moment to you, wherever you are on this sweet, wild, sacred earth. I'm Julie Ling, and this is the voice of wonder. Welcome. I'm so happy that you're joining me today. Today, as I tuned in to what wanted to be spoken, even since last night, I didn't get much sleep last night. And if this is posted a few minutes later, that'll be why. I was supposed to set off the smoke alarm when I was getting ready. That took a little time. What wants to be spoken today is nuanced, many-tongued, a play so we can settle in before the words come. I invite you to just drop in or settle a little more gentle into yourself, into your body. Noticing the breath as it rises and as it falls. The breath as it comes and it goes. Coming in, bringing you a little more fully into the moment. And as you breathe out, it brings you a little more fully into your body, into the moment, releasing anything that is not of this moment. This is not of this now, here, the only moment that ever is. Last night, yesterday, it was a challenging day for me, and I realized mid-afternoon when I just went to do a practice to help clear me out, started to sob. I couldn't understand why. And a lot later, after spending most of my day resting, I realized that I felt very hurt, that some people in my life had not remembered. I don't know whether they remembered or not. My birthday was a week ago today. Whether they had not remembered, didn't care, wasn't important enough to wish me happy birthday. Plenty of other people had, and that was lovely. I woke up to 8 messages on my thread. There were messages on Facebook. Someone dear to me called. Other people sent me text messages. It was a lovely, lovely day. And yet it hurt that some of these people who've been in my life for most of it hadn't reached out and wished me a happy birthday. And I didn't realize how hurt I was until the end of the day. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I began to cry, and I also found myself angry and bitter. And I was angry and bitter because I noticed the thought underneath that was that I didn't matter enough, that I was less important, that there was somehow something wrong and bad about me. And this was proof that that was true. And that thought hurt like sin. It hurt like sticking my hand or my heart in a flame. And I realized after a long time of crying, of being angry, of feeling bitter, of saying really mean things to myself. What did you expect? You should know better. You were foolish to believe anything otherwise. It's truth. It's proof. There's something wrong and bad and irredeemable about you. And that hurt so much. And I realized later that when we see the world and ourselves, especially, with only two options, right, wrong, and especially when there's only one right and everything else is wrong, where does it leave us? In pain, in a lot of pain. And I submit to you, I offer up the possibility that a lot of the things going on in our world that we're not thrilled with are the result of this way of thinking and being, that there's only one right, everything else is wrong. There's the good and the right that's familiar that we know. I spoke before about the root of the word barbarian. It means one who speaks barbar. It means someone who is different. And that if it isn't like us, it must be wrong. There is the one right way, ours, or the one right way we were prescribed, and everything else is wrong and bad. And there is so much pain in that. And there are only two choices, only two lenses, only two, not even colors, white, black. Those are not colors. Black is the presence in pigment, it's the presence of all colors, and white is the absence of all colors. In light, white is the presence of all colors, and black is the absence of all colors. They are the extremes. There is a full spectrum. And when we live in black and white, right, one right, and all the rest wrong, we drain all the color from our life. We drain all the choices, all the possibilities from our lives. And there is so much pain in that. There is so much pain. Even there's a pleasure. We actually get a hit from feeling self-righteous and feeling right. And it's short-lived. And in the long run, it doesn't feel good. It feels icky. And even that, we tend to delegate how we feel into good or bad. This feels right, this feels wrong. There's a whole spectrum of color. There's a full spectrum of life that we miss when we divide everything up. We split everything up into the good, the bad, the right, the wrong. The only two possibilities. A diamond with only two faces? Ew, I've never seen one, and it sounds really boring, and like a whole lot of it gets missed because it's cut away, when the most beautiful diamonds have many, many facets. And I don't use that word very often, how often we limit ourselves to only two ways of seeing, only two facets, only two possibilities, when there are a multitude, there are millions, there are beyond that. I'm going to be quiet and play a little bit and let this notion settle into you. And perhaps you'll notice some of the places where you have been in pain for only seeing, as many of us were taught and learned very, very well, that there were only two possibilities. And if we didn't find that one right way, there was something wrong and bad in us. And that hurts. And here was the other thing I noticed after hours of not sleeping and sobbing and feeling angry and feeling bitter and feeling hurt. That, in the end, what was most likely, and one of those people did wish me happy birthday later. It wasn't that they wouldn't. It was that for whatever reason, they couldn't. They couldn't. And that I often say that awareness doesn't, there's a saying, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. That doesn't stop the pain, but it does take away the suffering. And that helped. And as I was present with myself, because I couldn't do anything else, sleep wasn't coming no matter how I tried, I realized that underneath all of this bitter self-blame and bitter flagellation and bitter, well, you should have known better, Julie. You should have known. What did you expect? I heard that so many times as I was growing up. What did you expect? That you mattered? That you were as important as they were? That people should remember? What's wrong with you? Oh man, this mean voice inside of me came up. And that hurt even more than the thought that just this despair, floating around thought that maybe this was wrong and bad, or proof of it. But this bitter, mean part of myself telling myself, shaming me for even thinking I deserved this thing. And I realized underneath that this part of me was protecting me for the pain of feeling the disappointment, the pain of feeling hurt and wishing that I wasn't vulnerable to the hurt. And in many ways, as painful as that was, this snarky, mean, nasty voice telling me I should know better. What did I think? Who was I fooling? I was a fool to think any differently than that I was wrong and bad. That hurt less than feeling the disappointment that was alive in me, that feeling the hurt that was alive in me, than feeling the vulnerability that was alive in me. And it hurt less largely because I could control it. I didn't feel like a slap in the face out of the blue. I was in control. And at least that made it a little easier to bear. It hurt less than feeling the pain of my own disappointment and my own hurt. And I invite you to notice where you have learned this so well and have protected yourself. This part of you, this mean inner critic that learned all these things from outside, has protected you this way out of a desperate, fierce, if misguided, love. And the other thing I realized as I was getting ready this morning to come and talk to you is that when this voice is activated and we're living in this reality of only right, only wrong, and the chances of getting the right are really slim, or the right only looks like us or what we were taught, whichever variation of that very limited spectrum. It's like duality, one or the other. That's it. Nothing else fits. We cannot see anything else. when we are looking for the monochromatic. We find what we look for. We see what we are looking for. And when we only look for right or wrong, when we only look for black or white, we miss the full spectrum of life. We miss all the possibilities. When I was locked in that place of this is proof that you are wrong and bad, I couldn't see anything else. I had no access to my humanity. I only had access to my wrongness, my badness. I find those words so limiting and so not helpful. I didn't have access to the feeling alive in me that simply wanted and needed for me to feel it. And I see I'm getting low on time, the amount that I try to keep this to. And this is really important. Oh, and it's so important that it's slipping away from me. Let me find it again. I realized that no matter what other people mean, no matter even when they are being mean and deliberately hurtful, and even that I've come to realize, Louise Hay once said, meanness is a person in pain expressing that pain. Even other people being mean towards us is simply their pain crying out for release. And it's very likely because they have no way to meet it. They're locked into right and wrong, and those are the only two choices. And this is wrong, and you've done me wrong because I have to be right because it's too painful to be wrong. And so let me pour all of this pain onto you because I have no capacity to meet it. When I join the other person in making me wrong, in pouring their meanness on me, I betray myself. And when I join them and betray that innocent part of me that is just doing the best she can, that is trying to get along as best she can, and that, as she learned and was taught very well, is when coming across a wound, a broken arm, is whacking it over and over again as if that is going to heal it. That's going to make it better. I know. I'll take care of this mean brokenness and I'll smatter it to smithereens. That's never worked for me, and I'm guessing there may be times you've done it and it hasn't worked for you either. How does this help us shift the world? By shifting ourselves? When I ultimately last night, what resolved it so that I was able to get a little sleep before I showed up this morning was me realizing how I had betrayed myself, how I had left myself, and how I had not joined what I knew was happening. I have no idea. Maybe they just forgot. Maybe they sent me a text and it didn't go through. Maybe they were upset or other things were going on. Who knows? But I joined my fear of what they thought about me. I joined my own core fear that there's something wrong and bad about me, and beat myself up with it. I betrayed myself. And when I was able to recognize that and go, oh, I can't believe I'm here again, I'm so sorry, and met the part of me that was disappointed and hurt, and just said, I'm so sorry you're hurt. I'm so sorry you're disappointed. Of course you wanted these people who are part of your life to wish you happy birthday, to know that they cared. Of course you did. And I'm here, and I care, and I love you. And I see your disappointment. I see beyond the illusion of right and wrong. I'll meet you in the field beyond all notion of right, of this as right and wrong, right or wrong, of you as this being proof that you're not right and therefore must be wrong. I will meet you in your disappointment, in your pain, in your hurt, in your fear that this is proof that that is the truth. And I will love you anyway. Maybe it is true, I don't know. And I will love you anyway. I'm not leaving you now. I'm here. If that's a skill that we can learn to master even a little more, even 1% more of the time, I'm pretty sure that it will affect the way we see other people in their woundedness. And instead of picking up the mallet to beat them in the wound, we'll set it down, lay down our swords and shields, and study war a little less and a little less and a little less, and perhaps be able to once in a while, and then more and more often, be able to meet other people in their pain, in their woundedness. And maybe they don't know how yet. And the more of us know how and practice it and offer it, the less we will find ourselves in a world stripped of all color, stripped of the spectrum of feelings and our ability to meet them, but in a world of technicolor, in a world where all feelings, all parts, our wounds are welcome so that they can be nurtured and healed. And ultimately, my vision is that this kind seeing eye, this love seeking eye can help the whole world see and be more whole. That is my wish for you, for me, for each of us. Different flute. This one. So today, I invite you, or this afternoon or evening or night, as you step into your day, afternoon, evening, or into the in-between of dreams, that when you notice yourself seeing yourself or anyone else, but start with you, through that lens of right, wrong, black, white, good, bad, no other choices. Look out the window. How many colors do you see? Look around your room. How many colors do you see? Look inside yourself. How many colors do you see? How many feelings are there? Just for a moment, meet yourself where you are and see yourself. Look at yourself with a kind eye. If you are feeling mean or you are in pain, if you are feeling mean, you are in pain. If you are in pain, what's the feeling of it? And how can you meet yourself even a tiny bit more and soften? And remember that the part of you that learned to treat yourself harshly is really good at learning. And that proves you're really good at learning and you can learn something else. And I double dog dare you today to practice seeing yourself with an eye that's just a little bit kinder, has a little more compassion. And instead of hitting your wounds when you find them, offering just a little bit of healing balm, or at least a kind look instead. I'm Julia Lang, and today I invite you to let your heart sing, even in the moments when curses arise, when the mean voice arises to protect you the only way it knows how, that you meet it with a little more love than you've ever been able to before. That's my desire for you. And even if your heart sings a sad song, I invite you to let it and to listen and see it with and hold it with kindness.